Blood streamed down Horace's arm, along the blade of his palm, and around the brim of his hat by his hip, where it dripped to the ground. A puddle had already formed under his feet, and in the other hand dangled the messy folds of his coat. Plainly said, Horace was scared shitless, and he was confused. Honestly, he hadn't worked out what part of last night was a dream, but he knew what was real in that moment. Even as he stood in the stink of the hall to his flat, he could hear the chanting of rats inside his home. They'd come screaming out of the walls like water burst in a dam. Rats, roaches, things without names. The sound of their claws on wood still rang in his ears like teeth chattering inside his skull. They'd torn his home apart. The shelves he'd kept just so, flattened. The books and ledgers, scattered, chewed to pulp. His modest bed, overturned and crawling. The basin, smashed. In moments, his home was reduced to a nest, a hive for the rats and the rot. "You've got uninvited guests, eh?" said the man lying on the stairs in a trench coat too big for him. Horace almost didn't hear him. "Sounds like it got inside, didn't it? Or did you let it in?" Horace didn't acknowledge him. He knew what he had to do, though he didn't want to. But most things that need doing rarely promise any joy. From the inside breast pocket of his jacket flapped his citizen papers. He closed his eyes, and all he could hear was the crashing and screeching coming from inside his home. Damn, but he didn't want to do it. The outbound line was short. The inbound was a snake of bodies that stretched half a block down the street. Faces jaundiced with exhaustion, pockets hollow, some clutching their children like sacks of flour. Horace rode Billy straight to the checkpoint gate. The black coats barely spared him a glance, just a quick check of his papers, and they waved him through. Easier than breathing. But even on horseback, it wasn't high enough to escape the stink. The road narrowed between the stone buttresses of the wall, forcing Billy to slow to a steady clop. To his left, the inbound line twisted and festered. People stacked too close, sweating and coughing, eyes flat and hungry. Their smell wafted up, thick as tar, unwashed skin, sickly breath, clothes crusted with old dirt. Horace felt it cling to him, like greasy fingers on his back. He shifted in the saddle, tried to keep his coat pinned between his knees, tried not to breathe too deep. The checkpoint wall loomed ahead, a black mouth swallowing travelers up one by one. He passed through the tunnel-like corridor, walls damp with mildew, the ceiling low enough that he had to duck. Then they broke through. Sunlight split the haze, and Horace blinked hard against it. The air changed, cool and clean, touched with the scent of grass and open dirt. The inbound line was triple the length on this side of the wall. Travelers camped along the road, cooking scraps over twig fires, sleeping in rag tents and gutted wagons. Blackcoats on patrol barked orders, clubs and rifles slung low, eyes heavy with boredom and disdain. A blind man rattled a tin cup at a passerby. A woman with one leg propped herself up on a crate and outstretched a hat in silence. A child with a black eye danced for a small crowd of gamblers trading twisted maidens. All of them just as hopeless as the last. Horace nudged Billy forward. As he made his way down the road, the line dwindled, and the air changed. It was fresh, cool. The sky hung wide and blue over open land. The horizon stretched past green fields to wild grass. In the distance, he could see a lush green forest, and on the other side, the ocean. He caught a whiff of salt water on the breeze. It felt clean. The sun hit his face, and for the first time in years, he felt clean. He stayed there just a moment, eyes half-lidded and breathing deep. The rot was still there, back in the city, back behind the wall, but out here, he felt far from it. For the life of him, he couldn't remember why he left this place. "Manners!" the old woman snapped as she jabbed a crooked finger at a clutch of hands.
You want to act like animals? I'll put you back in the stew pot, you little bastards!
She was already outside, crouched over a cracked saucer, scattering feed to a knot of scraggly chickens, pecking and shoving at each other. The Chalk Widow's home was exactly where it had always been, wedged between the ribs of a collapsed church, stitched together with tarps, bones, and bits of mirror. The door was a curtain made of old corsets. Wind chimes made of cans and knuckle bones danced in the breeze, and bits of wood and trash littered the field all around the old building. One of the hens squawked as another pecked at her. The woman hissed and flung a pinch of seed right at the head of the aggressor.
You chew with your mouths shut and keep your beaks to yourselves. God's help me, I'll sort you like cards if I have to.
The woman stood when she saw Horace. She was all sharp angles and thick layers, scarves over skirts over a coat that might have once belonged to a naval officer. She wore a top hat with spoons stuck in the band and what looked to be a raven's claw hanging from one ear.
As I live and breathe. Horace Blithe, isn't it? I dreamed of you last night.
She looked him up and down with a critical, squinting eye, the way an officer would inspect a private's uniform.
You look thin.
You look the same, he said, hands buried deep in his pockets, like he didn't know what to do with them.
I've got the God's good graces to thank for that.
The old woman turned back to her chickens, casting an arc of feed out for him.
I didn't think I'd ever see you again.
Horace Blithe, she said, like a foreign word she'd never gotten quite used to saying. She turned back to the pot over her low-burning fire.
You need to eat.
Oh, I'm not hungry. She turned the pot slowly.
Either you're hungry,
then she dipped the wooden spoon in and slopped it into a bowl.
Or you brought something hungry with you.
She shoved the bowl at him with a shake, then shook it again for good measure.
What are you doing for work now? Are you still cleaning up other people's messes?
Horace took the bowl, though food was the last thing on his mind. We all need money. The Chalk Widow snickered at that.
You know what I've noticed about money? It only matters when people in tall towers say so.
She smiled a gap-toothed grin.
No towers out here.
No, that is not. Not but your chickens and your church. Horace felt his guard dropping, and he stepped to a chair.
Don't sit there,
the woman said.
I sit there. That chair's for guests.
And she gestured to another metal chair by the fire. It was identical to hers, save for a varied pattern of rust. Horace took a seat and ate a spoonful of stew. He couldn't remember the last time he'd eaten something that wasn't stale bread, and it warmed him from the inside.
So, why come see me now?
Horace pulled the broken bone catcher from his pocket and watched as her smile twitched, then vanished.
You kept it,
she said and tugged it free from his fingers. She flipped the broken trinket over in her gnarled hands, looked the charm over the way a machinist might examine a broken pump.
You keep this above your bed.
That's what you told me to do with it.
Not anymore, then.
She ran her thumb along the snapped string.
This didn't just wear in two. It was broken. Munchkins rip it down, eh?
Horace took another bite and wiped his lips with the thumb. Then a look washed over her face.
I don't know much about nothing, but I can tell you this. The bones of your past are haunting you, Horace Blithe.
Horace blinked.
What? They're stacking up behind your eyes, love. Every stain you smear, every mess you dump. You think rot don't have a scent?
She looked him up and down with something between pity and warning.
They've noticed you.
Horace felt a chill hit his chest before the words landed, and his spine locked up.
Something's watching, lurking like.
She took his wounded hand in hers, gently undid the wrapping.
Something hungry.
She put her hands to the sides of his head and held him there, looked deep into his eyes like she was looking into a corpse's open belly.
You've a stain on you. You think because you clean stains for twisted maidens that you're free of their filth? It's in you now, love, running through your veins like old water.
The widow squinted at him and leaned closer until her nose nearly touched his.
Oh, but it's not just the filth, is it? No. This thing, this shadow that's found you, it's older than grime and guilt, older than rot. It has a name, but it's been lost to the wind.
She turned away sharply, digging into a pouch at her hip. She pulled a piece of chalk and scrawled a crude symbol on a church porch. An eye with too many lashes, a tongue wrapped in a knot.
What is it? We've called it many things, long before my time or yours. In common, it's known as the maw underfoot. Less of a creature, more of a constant. Like rot in the wood, or mold on bread. Been here longer than breath or bone. Hunger made manifest. Hollow, gnashing, chewing on the things we don't bury proper. And you've been feeding it. You all have. But it's got your scent now.
She waggled a chalky finger in his face.
You listen to me, Horace Blithe, and you listen well. The things that hunt you, and make no mistake, it is hunting you. It is not of this plane. It is beyond the petty wants of mortals. The only thing it shares with beings of the flesh is hunger. The same hunger you've had since...
Enough! Horace demanded as he twisted free of her grasp. I can hear no more. I want to be shut of this. It's your doing that brought this down on my head, woman. All these stories you told me when I was young, the rituals, the chants, you cursed me good and proper, you did. Cursed me with the knowledge of things no one should know, the sighted things no one should ever see. The woman's eyes looked wounded.
You've a sharp tongue, boy,
she sniffled. Horace would swear he saw her chin quiver.
Nothing like a cup of tea to soothe a tongue that cuts deep.
She pulled an old kettle off the table that sat out front of the church's broken window and filled 2 tin cups. Horace shook his head.
I don't want tea. I need help. Darling,
she said and touched his cheek with a gentle finger.
I told you to stay away from that place. I told you to stay on this side of the wall. It is a place of disease. Do you see it now?
Horace nodded. I see it. The chalk widow dragged her chair closer and took a seat. Took the bowl from him and set it on the ground, then took his hands in hers.
My warning hasn't changed, love. You must leave that place. You must stop yourself.
Horace felt a pang of icy remorse in his chest.
I can't leave her. She is gone, Horace. She is gone. Your staying in that pit does nothing for her now. It only serves to bleed you slow. Why do you help me?
He didn't know why he asked, but he didn't know what else to say. She flashed a wide Cheshire cat smile.
Horace Blithe, do you think me heartless? A soft spot's what I got for willful strays.
I've a cold heart now, Horace said, sounding a lot like a little boy and wincing at the thought. A stone sunk deep into his chest, and she took his face in her hands with a gentle touch, looked at him sincerely.
'Tis true, your ticker is a mite chilly, but it was made that way by things you couldn't control. But it stays that way, because you hide it from those who would see it warmed.
I have nothing. Nothing.
Sometimes having nothing is better than having the wrong thing, dear. Put it down. Let her go, before it swallows you up.
Horace knew that she was right. Didn't change how much it hurt, though. Well, how are we tonight, traveler? This was episode 3 of Rotwork. I reckon things ain't getting any brighter for Horace Blithe, but this story ain't wrapped up just yet. Stick with me and we'll get there. Make sure to subscribe wherever you're listening so you don't miss what comes next. If you're a fan and you want more, you can find From Shallow Graves on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And if you're a little like me, you ain't got much patience. So if you'd rather not wait, click the link to my Patreon. You'll get early access to all the episodes, plus a behind-the-scenes look at what all goes into making this show. If you've a mind to contribute to the world of From Shallow Graves, I'd be mighty pleased to hear from you. Follow the link in the description to join our Reddit community, where you might just find yourself telling your own story by this very fire. Today's episode was written and performed by Red Edwards. Until next time, traveler, keep your lantern lit, because remember, we ain't alone out here.